One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. I feel like I've told this story before, but I'm just going to throw it out there again for the sake of telling on myself and sharing behind the scenes of who I really am. I'm kind of a paper hoarder, and it's like one of those things that drives my husband crazy. Like it really does. Like he will find old notebooks or like just things lying around the house, and he's like, why do we still have this? Why do we have this? Y'all, he is in IT. It's what he does for his job. Like it is totally centered around having everything in the cloud. Everything needs to be digital. And here I am writing in my notebooks, having all these binders of papers and all the things. Okay, so here's a for real. Like we're getting really legit here. My parents did that thing, where you're in your 20s or your 30s and your parents are like, we've had all of this crap at our house that is yours, that we kept all your childhood and all through you moving out and your early adulthood. Now it's your turn. Like you have a house of your own. Take this crap out of our house and keep it at yours. So they moved to a different house about 4 or 5 years ago, and they dropped off this humongous tub of just stuff. And if you've been around here before, you know that we moved a lot. Like the house that we're in right now, we've only been here for about 3.5 years, but there was a time period in our lives where we moved 4 times in 5 years. Like there was lots of moving. And so they thought, well, it's probably not the right time to offload, this stuff and give it to her. But once they saw we were settled in this house, they were like, okay, we are officially giving you this tub of stuff that just says Crystal on the side of it. They don't even know what's in it, but they're like, here's your crap that you kept from your childhood. Apparently it was important to you. There you go. Take it. It's yours. I started going through it one day And I was like, what is in here? Like, I just honestly, I had no idea. I figured there'd be some pictures, maybe some embarrassing photo albums where I'm like, oh my gosh, that disposable camera, we should have just thrown the whole thing away. These are awful pictures. Y'all remember the days of disposable cameras, right? You take all your pictures, you have that, take a picture, click, and then it has the whine like, and you're like winding it. Then you take it to Walgreens or Eckerd's. Y'all remember Eckerd's? Like, I don't know if that was just like a Texas thing, but that was like where we went. Like, that was the drugstore. You go, you take your pictures, get them developed, all the things. Okay, why am I telling you all of this? Because I found an entirely intact notebook from my high school chemistry class. Like, it was all of my assignments. It was like every piece of homework we did. It was like every lesson, all the things. It was all there. It was all intact. So if you want to know what happened, I think it was my sophomore or junior year of high school, whenever I took chemistry, it was all there. It was all there. And the reason why I'm bringing this up for you today is this is actually a character trait that is paying off because I have every stitch, every single piece of paper that I used whenever I went through B school back in 2019. And I found something that I wanted to share with you today that has everything to do with understanding your why and what is actually kind of developed and evolved over the last few years in my business and on my journey. And I'm really excited to share it with you today. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been trying to figure out the world of podcasting, think of this show as the time-saving shortcut you've been looking for. So let's get right to it, shall we? I just looked. That was like the longest intro I think we've ever had on the podcast. It was almost 4 minutes long for the introduction, but I felt like I needed to give tons of backstory so you understood first and foremost that I'm a paper hoarder. Like, I shouldn't admit that. Like, I just did like a big overhaul of, I had this closet. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw it. I have this closet that's like right off of our office, and it's like a small linen closet. Maybe, you would put, it's kind of not a linen closet because it's not close to any of the bedrooms. I can't imagine putting sheets in there because it's so far away from the like our bedroom downstairs, but also it's not a coat closet because there's shelves in there. So I don't really know what the intentions of this closet necessarily were, but I'll just be really honest. It's where I shove my kids' artwork from school. Like, stuff comes home, they have a Wednesday folder, and it's like, oh, this is all the things that they did over the week. And then sometimes we'll go through it and the kids will say, oh, I don't need that. We can trash those. And I get so excited whenever they say we can just trash it or recycle it. They don't need it anymore. But then there's often like pieces of paper in there that are like, oh no, I'm so excited about it. I want to keep this. And let me tell you, when you have 3 children that are in school and they all are coming home with pieces of paper, then you have just regular mail on top of that. And then I have stuff that I use in my business. And then my husband comes home with paperwork from time to time. Like, it is a lot of paper to deal with. And instead of dealing with it, y'all, this is where like, I just probably need to just go into a full-blown therapy session for my paper hoarding. Instead of dealing with it, I would just kind of organize, I'm saying that in quotes, organize it into piles, and then I shove it into this little makeshift closet. It's not a makeshift closet. It's an actual closet. I called it my Monica's closet for a long time. Monica from Friends, she had this mysterious closet that was never opened. And they're like, wait, what's actually behind here? And Chandler's like trying to break in. They break in and it's like, oh my gosh, this is the messiest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's what this paper hoarder closet was for me. So all that to be said, I recently cleaned it up. It looks all better. I got my little bins. I did the home edit, like, hey, let's clean it all out. Let's put everything in bins. It's still not 100% complete, but oh my gosh, there was, I think, 3 trash bags full of paper that we discarded and I'm not even finished. Yeah, that's how bad it was. So I'm a paper hoarder. I'm holding up my right hand. I've said it. I've declared it. We're going to move on because my paper hoarderness, I'm making up words now. I don't even know if that's a thing, is actually benefiting me today because like I said in the beginning, I have every single paper that I used whenever I went through B school back in 2019. So if you follow me on social, you've been listening to the podcast, or you've been getting my emails, you know that Marie Forleo has opened B School for the first time ever as a summer session. And I'm really excited. And you can learn more about it by going to the show notes or going to crystalprofit.com/B School. And you can learn, I'm going to talk more extensively about the bonuses that I offer and all that on social media and all the things, but that's not really why we're here today. I'm here today because when it comes to this podcast, whether you enroll in B School or you decide to join another program that I'm promoting, I always want to offer something of value to you here in this podcast. I don't want you to listen to a 20-minute episode about a B School commercial. Come on, that's not worth listening to. But how I can add value to today's episode is telling you a little bit more about my B School journey, where I was in my mindset, and I actually want to hone in on one very, very specific piece of my journey that I look back on and I'm like, wow, so much of this is true today. It was true back then, and maybe I didn't understand what was actually happening, but now I see it. Like I see my own handwriting, which by the way, I think my handwriting is getting worse as I get older. I noticed this, like I pulled out, whenever I was cleaning out my crazy paper hoarder closet, I found a bunch of my old journals and I was flipping through them and I'm like, I think my handwriting is getting worse the older I get. And I think it's that I just write a lot faster than I used to. And so anyway, I just totally noticed that. But so let me lay out for you how B School works. So B School is a program. It's a 6-week online course that you take. And in it, one of my mentors, Marie Forleo, teaches you about creating a profitable online business. And one of the things, this is actually an exercise that you do in module 1, which B School, if you enroll, it starts on August 2nd, 2021. And I'm really excited because I'm going to actually go through with this cohort that's doing it in the summer. So if you enroll with me, I'm actually going to go through this process with you again. But what she does in the program is she has a video and then you download a worksheet, which you don't have to do it the way that I did, right? If you're like, oh my gosh, Crystal, why are you printing things out and actually writing in them? It's what works best for me. You could do the same thing in a Google Doc or in, keep it all digital. If that's how you want to run your life, keep it all digital. But for me, it actually helps me process things better when I do it away from a digital space. So that's why I wrote everything down. And I'm glad that I did. I actually love going back, and this is going to be, maybe I'm just one of those weird sentimental people when it comes to people's handwriting, but I love that I can pick up this physical piece of paper and I can feel the pen. I write like really hard with my pen. I push down really hard. So I can actually feel the pen marks on the back of the paper. This is so weird. I feel like such a weirdo saying this out loud, but it's true. Maybe there's somebody that resonates with that, but I just love it so much. Do you ever find like an old note from, I know Seth's grandma, she passed away a few years ago. That's my husband's grandma. And I found a note from her and it was just the most precious thing ever to see her handwriting and to look at the way that she wrote. Like, it's just, I don't know, there's something beautiful about it. So that is why, maybe that's one of the reasons I'm a paper hoarder. We'll just call it nostalgic and sentimental, whatever. It sounds good, right? But I love that I can see what actually happens. So in B School, I would watch a video and then I would print out all the pages And then I would have all my paperwork that whenever I had free time, let's say on, my morning time routine, I would do this instead of my regular writing, or on the weekend, I would have watched all the videos during the week when I'm folding clothes, cooking, doing laundry, like any of those things. And then whenever I had time that was like a good distraction-free moment, that's when I would do the writing. That's when I would do, the worksheets. So all of that to be said, this one is all about your why. And it is really tapping into at this point in the program, I didn't really have an idea. Like let's go back to January 2019. That was right before I joined B School. I had the podcast. I had the Profit podcast. Oh no, sorry. I had the Rookie Life podcast. I had created the digital course, the very first version 1.0. I had already created it and I had sold it pretty unsuccessfully at this point. And I was just really stuck. I did not know what I wanted to do, but I knew why I wanted to do it, because there's actually several, and maybe I'll take a picture and put it up in the show notes so you can go check it out. So crystalprofit.com/episode 274. I'll have a picture of this page in the show notes because I'm looking at the things that I wrote down, and some of them have come true and some of them have maybe shifted a little bit. But at the end of the day, this why is what still propels me to keep going forward. And it's not like I wrote down one why. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I have 8. And I probably stopped at 8 because there was no more room. There was no more lines left on the paper. So I'm just going to start from the top and work my way down. So one of my whys to creating an online business was to show my children that you can be a successful entrepreneur. And I know that this really comes from, I was in the corporate world, I was working, and then I became a stay-at-home mom. And if you are a stay-at-home mom, you've ever been a stay-at-home parent, or you have a spouse that stayed at home, maybe you understand that you can get kind of lost whenever you see yourself as just the sole caregiver of someone else. You can absolutely get lost in that journey and not have something for yourself. So at this point in 2019, I had already been staying at home for a while, and I'd been trying to figure out how to make money online, how to have a successful business, and it wasn't working. Everything I was doing up to that point was not working. And so I knew that my why for writing this, to show my children that you can be a successful entrepreneur, was all about motivating myself to do this and motivating myself to make it work, because I eventually want my kids to see this as oh, mom started her own business. If she can do it, maybe I can do it. Or if she can do it, then I don't know, maybe she's a superhero. I don't really know what I was going after, but I knew that I wanted to show my kids that I could do this. Another one is to get our family out of debt. This is actually a really big one, not to get all personal into our finances, but we had some student loan debt, right? I feel like this is the MO for an American household that is in the stage of life that we're in. Most people have student loans or some debt of some kind. And this was a really big motivating factor for us back in 2019. And I got to tell you, we've pretty much done this. We have gotten serious about getting our family out of debt, and we have worked so hard to make that happen. And I love that I have contributed to that with my business. So that makes me super happy. The next why, which makes me kind of laugh, it says to hire a house cleaner. Now, this I can tell you. So back in 2019, my kids would have been, oh my gosh, hang on. Doing math on the spot is hard for me. So our youngest would have been 3 years old. Then we would have had a 7-year-old, and we would have had a 10-year-old.
Being Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants.
Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
So I can tell you that time of life was a little bit more stressful than it is today with a 5, 9, and 12-year-old. And having someone, I have since been able to hire someone, like we have a cleaning crew that comes in once a month and cleans our house, and it is phenomenal. Like, oh my gosh, like people talk about outsourcing their work to a virtual assistant and to, like a project manager, a content manager, a video editor. But at the end of the day, one of my biggest things that I wanted to offload were some of the personal things that had nothing to do with my business. But I thought, man, if I could make enough money to pay to have someone come and clean the baseboards or to, do like I hate dusting. I'm just going to tell it like it is. I hate dusting. And to be able to have this excess income from my business and be able to pay to have a cleaning service come to our house once a month, like it's life-changing. It was life-changing for me. And I know that sounds dramatic, but as a mom of 3 boys, like I feel like I'm constantly trying to just play catch up on the mess that was made 2 seconds ago. So that was something that I knew. It was my why. I was like, this is why I have to make money. It's not about hiring a team of people and doing all these it's not making $1 million business in a year. It's about, I would love it if I could just have someone help me come in and clean the fans and clean, like just clean this house because I want to cry some days. Like, oh my gosh, I'm just thinking back to our 3-year-old. Like he would just randomly drop things and spill things. And it was always right after I'd gotten the Swiffer, like after the whole kitchen or like clean. Why? Parents, y'all know this. It's like right after everything is clean, that's when it's like, boom, I dropped the whole yogurt and it exploded and it went all over the kitchen. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's move on. So the next one was the next why of why I wanted to create my business was to be able to hire an assistant that'll help me scale my business. And since I wrote this down, I have been able to hire several project managers for different projects. Now, I don't have a full-time assistant that works with me like on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, because honestly, I don't hold hours that make me like, oh my gosh, I'm screaming with my hair on fire all the time. I do see hiring someone that is more full-time in the future, in the not too distant future. But I have loved being able to outsource parts of my business to other people who are more equipped to handle it. I've hired a project manager that helped me get my back end cleaned up. Y'all, you can talk about paper hoarding. I'm a digital hoarder too. I'm a hoarder. Okay. It's my thing. I like to keep things. I don't like to throw anything away. And it's like, it's a bad habit. It really is. But I've hired someone to help me clean up my digital life before. I've had someone help me come in and actually set up systems and processes for my content calendars and social media and getting everything jiving together. That way, when I sit down to plan out strategies, it's a lot easier for me. And then if you're in profit podcasting or you've seen a tour of my course, I have this tech library that's super sophisticated and fancy. I outsource that to a good friend of mine who does course like content creation. That's her specialty. And her and her team did a phenomenal job setting up this tech library that it would have taken me, oh my gosh, probably months if I was going to do it by myself. So I have been able to hire out and outsource pieces of my business. So this is me kind of giving like my 2019 a high five, like myself, like, hey, we did it. We've made it happen. It's not exactly where you envisioned, but we absolutely have made enough money to outsource some of the pieces of the business to people that are higher skilled than I am or I was back in the day. And then one of my other whys is to take the kids to Disney. We had been talking about this. Little did we know that a pandemic was going to be happening. So it's still, those plans are on hold. But we have been able to do some really cool vacations and fun things with the kids since I've started my online business because of the income we have generated. So that's really fun. The next why that I have is to help female entrepreneurs share their unique messages with the world. Now, I will tell you, whenever I wrote this down, I was still pretty dead set on my audience being just female entrepreneurs. And there's so many nuances to why I pivoted and why I kind of jumped away from just speaking to female entrepreneurs. So if you're a guy listening to this, you're like, wait, hang on. Am I on the wrong place? Nope, you're in the right place. I was in the mindset that I needed to speak to the most broad audience possible. And if you listened to this podcast, you've been hanging out here for a while, you know that that was a mistake. It was too broad. I was not speaking specifically enough to a particular audience, and that was entrepreneurs that want to start a podcast. It's not gender specific whatsoever. It's not stage specific. If someone's like, oh, I've had a podcast and I need to pivot, or I have no idea, I haven't even started, like those are the people I wanted to speak to. And so we could just take out the word female. And if I read it again, it's to help entrepreneurs share their unique messages with the world. And that is still one of our core principles here at Profit Media and why we do the things that we do, because that is my driving force. It's not about me. I mean, I even knew back then in 2019, like, it's not about me. It's not about me and making all this money and like, oh, I want to be on all the stages and I want people looking at me and saying, oh, there's Crystal, she's fabulous. I don't know what voice that was, but it's not about me. It's about other entrepreneurs that wanted to share their unique messages with the world. You, yes, you listening right now, I want you to have the tools and the resources to help you share your unique message with the world. Y'all, this was before I had any of the things laid out of what I do in my business today. I had this why grounded in me before I started talking about creating a membership or started doing like a low ticket offer or building out sales funnels. This was part of the foundation of who I wanted to become. I wanted to help entrepreneurs share their unique messages with the world. That is where I'm grounded. And I hope that you know that. I hope that that doesn't come as a shock to you. I hope you're like, yeah, I get that. Yeah, you're doing a good job, Crystal. We see that. But okay, the next one is to give women a voice. And this was something, again, I was very connected to the online female entrepreneur space. And I still feel like I'm pretty dialed in. I'm pretty connected to, most of the organizations, the programs, the memberships that I have joined is predominantly, that's a hard word to say, it's predominantly women that I am surrounded by. But at the end of the day, it's not my guiding force anymore to just give women a voice. I want to give people a voice that have an important message to share. So if I were to reword this today, it would be to give you confidence behind the microphone. That's what it means to me. That's what this why is grounded in, to give women a voice. But really, it's about, I want to give you confidence. I want to help you achieve confidence behind your microphone. That is my why. That's what's important to me. And then the last one that we have here, again, grounded in the female entrepreneur mindset that I was in, it says to show other women that you can stay at home and create a bigger impact in the world. And I can tell you, I don't even have to look at any notes. I know where this comes from. This goes back to what I was talking about earlier. When you are a stay-at-home parent and you decide that you're going to stay at home, you start to question a lot of things. Like, what am I actually doing? Here I am. I went to school. I went to college. I graduated. I went to the corporate world for a little bit. And now I'm at home watching, what was it? Not SpongeBob. What was the other one? Little Einsteins. Back in the day, it was Little Einsteins was all the rave. Like, it was on repeat. Feeding through the sky, little Einsteins. Oh my gosh, y'all, I should not sing, no, take that back. Let's just pretend that didn't just happen. But I got lost in who am I? What am I supposed to be? And if I stay at home and I'm just a quote, stay at home mom until my kids go to school, what's going to happen when I try to go back to work? This was a legitimate fear that I had. And I've had this conversation many times with my husband, and he doesn't comprehend exactly what that meant whenever I first voiced this fear. He was like, what do you mean? Of course you would get hired. You got a marketing degree. You've had corporate experience. You've done accounting work. You've been in the project management space. Like you would be fine. But then I asked him the question of, if I brought you my resume tomorrow and I said, I've been at home for the last 5 years, I don't know what the trends are. I don't know what's going on, but I got a degree. Would you hire me over someone who's been at it, who's been doing the thing for the last 5 years? And he was like, you're right. I see it. So that's where so much of this was rooted, is to show other women that you can stay at home and create a bigger impact in the world. And I've had times over the last few years of me being at home where I thought, maybe I should just go get a job. And maybe you've done this too, right? You get on LinkedIn and you're like, I just want to see what's out there. I'm just going to put some feelers out. I mean, I've still done this today. I'm not saying that this is in the that was several years ago. I've done this in the last 6 months where I'm like, I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to go see what's going on. And because all the things that I've been doing in the last 5 years, I'm still marketable to a business. Okay, I would go out on a limb and say I would be pretty dang valuable because of all the things that I've learned through programs like B-School and Digital Course Academy and creating a YouTube channel and a podcast and content creation. Like, I feel like I have all of these marketable skills that I'm really proud of. And so that is where this why, I know that that's where this is grounded. I wanted to show other women that you can stay at home and create a bigger impact in the world. Because at the end of the day, I have looked at many jobs online and I am just like, ooh, I don't want to go into an office, especially after the last year, right? Where everybody's working at home and a lot of people are starting to go back to work now. And I've seen several jobs. Like, we live in the Northwest Houston area. We're about 45 minutes from downtown, which that's 45 minutes on a day with no traffic, right? Like, that's just pure driving on the highway. And I saw a job, and it was, of course, LinkedIn. The algorithm is like, you're perfect for this. Like, it's, you should apply now. It's beautiful for you. This has all your life's desires. And I look at it and it was like, and it's in downtown Houston. I was like, nope. Nope. I'm in my workout clothes right now. I didn't put any makeup on today, and I can watch my kids get on and off the school bus. And I can have snacks whenever I want. And I can go to the bathroom whenever I want. And I can see my dog and my cat and hang out with them. And like, just all the things were like, no, I'm good. I'm totally fine doing what I'm doing what I've been doing. And that is where this why is grounded. So I know this was like kind of a totally different episode, but I hope that it gives you a little kind of peek into what this business is that I'm creating, why I've been creating this business from the beginning. And I mean, my B-School story isn't the very, very beginning of my journey. I actually did a recent YouTube video I'll link to in the show notes where I showed you like my journey started in 2014. Like 2014, whenever I first started staying at home, and I go into the different turns, twists, pivots along my journey. But I wanted to share this with you today because whenever you do go through a program like B-School and you tap into these bigger pictures of what you see your life being, I can tell you, I didn't know any of the things that were going to happen, like things like from before I started B-School to today. I couldn't tell you all the incredible things that would be happening. That I would speak on Amy Porterfield's Momentum stage, that I would be speaking at Podcast Movement, that I would be going to another really big podcast conference later this year and speaking on their stage. I would not be able to have predicted any of that. None of it. But this stuff right here, the why, it's the same. It's the same. Maybe parts of it are different in how the message is delivered, or maybe like one or two things are like, let's take out a word here and change this. But overall, the why is the same. So I'm going to encourage you to tap into your why. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you listening to this podcast? Why are you trying to figure out how to have a podcast, how to start an online business? Why is this so important to you? If you've never asked yourself this question before, now's the time. Right now is as good a time as any, because I can tell you 2 years later, after having gone through B-School myself, so much of this is still true, even though I didn't have a freaking clue what I was doing. I really didn't. And maybe that's something I should admit. I did not know what I was doing. I was still throwing spaghetti against the wall, just trying to see what was going to stick, where I was going to fit in, what was the thing that I was going to be known for. And I landed on podcasting. And I'm so grateful to be here with you 2 years later, still talking about this platform that makes me so happy, so fired up, so motivated. And I still just want to help other people share those important messages that you have. Oh, y'all, this was fun. This was fun. I like doing these like, hey, let's just totally take like a hard pivot and do something different. Normally, I teach so much on this podcast. So if you're brand new around here, go back and listen to our old episodes where I teach and I'm just giving you practical, tactical, how-to, this and that. But today, I wanted to switch it up and share more of the behind the scenes of why we're here, why you're listening to this podcast. So again, I didn't want to make this a full-blown commercial the whole time about B-School, but I am going to tell you that it is open right now from January. Oh my gosh, y'all, listen to that, January. July, that is the proper date, July 20th through July 29th, 2021. It's summer session. Marie has never done this before, and I have a really cool bonus package that I've put together that I want you to go check out. It's going to consist of accountability calls, or like 6 weeks of accountability. So if you're like, I really want to talk to Crystal about my business and maybe she can help me, like this is the time. If you've been wanting to do some group coaching, this is the time to join us. So go to crystalprofit.com/B-School. You're going to learn more about the workshops that I'm offering. You're going to have access to profit podcasting. You're going to have access to a full blown, like if today you're like, oh my gosh, I want to hear more about your B-School story. Y'all, this was one page, a single page. Like, do you hear that? This is a single page out of my B-School binder. There's so much goodness, and I'm going to go through my whole binder with you during the B-School process. So go to crystalprofit.com/B-School to learn more about the bonus package. Sign up and do not wait because doors close on July 29th, 2021. But that's all I have for you today. So make sure you go to the show notes, go check out the resources we talked about in today's episode, crystalprofit.com/episode 274. And as always, remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Crystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Crystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.